disparity between the wages are not too much to keep players in the camp happy. Look at what's going on at Chelsea. Mason Mount haggling for superior wages because he feels certain players who have not been pulling their weight have been rewarded huge wages, and Chelsea suddenly want to call down on the wage bill. That is why Mason Mount would rather leave Chelsea and go to Manchester United now sign a new deal at Chelsea. So you have to be very careful when you're dishing out wages. I'm not saying that's not your penny pinch. At the same time, Saliba is 21. Even though he has world-class traits, he's a fantastic defender. So as Gabriel. Gabriel is a fantastic defender. So you have to make sure there's a balance, there's a harmony in how the wage bill reflects on the players collectively and individually. Hence, there will be anarchy in the camp, and we cannot afford that, especially with the fact that Arsenal have been enjoying a relatively drama-free camp. So let's talk William Saliba's contract and Reiss Nelson's contract. So before we go ahead into the meats and the bones of this conversation, do me a favor by sticking a like on the video. Very, very important. Make sure you subscribe. If you like the content and you enjoy the channel, make sure you subscribe. And do not forget to turn on your notification bell. So let's start with William Saliba, the semi-protracted negotiation regarding a new deal. So according to what's his name, Damashe, that works for Sky Sports, talks between Arsenal and William Saliba for a new contract are progressing positively. That's great. Willingness from all parties to continue together. Even though I made a video, I was like, if he wants to go, especially if he's demanding astronomical wages that might actually bring some disharmony into the camp, maybe Arsenal should sell him. Nah, don't. Some of you will get very, very aggressive and leave it about my position. I want Saliba to stay. I think he's a world-class defender in the making. Tall, athletic, very calm on the ball, can play in tight spaces. I rate him very highly. But at the same time, like I said in my last video, defending is a collective job. Even though individually, you have to win your battles and your draw. And he does that fantastically. And I want him to stay. But we have to understand that if you overpay certain players, that will bring disgruntlement and a bit of ill fighting, because when Ben White goes for his contract negotiations, he won't demand more. Let's not forget, we signed Gabriel Magalhaes to a new contract, and if he finds out Saliba earns more than him, he might be. You have to make sure the disparity between those deals are not too far, representing the quality each player brings. I understand you can't pay a uniform wages at the same time. Like I said, defending is not an individual thing; it's a collective thing. You have to make sure there's a bit of what would be the right word? You have to make sure the disparity between the wages are not too much to keep players in the camp happy. Look at what's going on at Chelsea. Mason Mount haggling for superior wages because he feels certain players who have not been pulling their weight have been rewarded huge wages, and Chelsea suddenly want to call down on the wage bill. That is why Mason Mount would rather leave Chelsea and go to Manchester United now sign a new deal at Chelsea. So you have to be very careful when you're dishing out wages. I'm not saying that's not your penny pinch. At the same time, Saliba is 21. Even though he has world-class traits, he's a fantastic defender. So as Gabriel. Gabriel is a fantastic defender. So you have to make sure there's a balance, there's a harmony in how the wage bill reflects on the players collectively and individually. Hence, there will be anarchy in the camp, and we cannot afford that, especially with the fact that Arsenal have been enjoying a relatively drama-free camp. So I'm enjoying the fact that, according to reports, the negotiations are going smoothly and progressively. And I like the fact that both William Saliba and Arsenal are willing to do this deal. So that sounds great. Let me know your opinion in the comment section. Now, another bit of news on Reiss Nelson. The final details are being sorted on a new contract for Reiss Nelson. There's an agreement in principle over a 4-year deal. That looks good. And Damashe to confirm the final sorry, the final details are being sorted on Reiss Nelson. That looks great. Some of you might not be too optimistic regarding the Reiss Nelson deal. I think I shared that sentiment before, but if you deep it and look at it more logically and objectively, Reiss Nelson is not a bad player. He has, in my opinion, has a better season than Jadon Sancho of Manchester United, who they bought in for an excess of £70 million. Even though he had an injury blighted season, Reiss Nelson had a better season. Fantastic goal against Bolton in that equalizer. Even played an assist. He had a very decent showing against Man City, even though we lost. In the games he has played this season, Reiss Nelson has shown progress. Is getting over his injury woes, and it would be a terrible thing. It will not be smart to sell him at this point or let him go on a free. If you let him go on a free and he goes to the likes of Brighton or West Ham or outside the English Premiership and he hits it off and he does a Serge Gnabry, a lot of you will have your axes out for the neck of Arteta and Edu. So sometimes Arteta and Edu cannot win because these emotional fans, these fans with so much hysteria cannot analyze things objectively. We know Reiss Nelson in the last few years has been hit and miss. But if you look at it last season, he has shown a bit of progress. He has changed his diet. He's looking fitter. He's looking quicker. His confidence is coming back. Why don't you give him a chance? Sign into a new deal. If it doesn't work, it's still a win-win situation. You can still sell him. It's not going to cost us any transfer fee if you sign into a new contract. And if it doesn't work, which I doubt, you can sell him. He can play on the right, he can play on the left. He's quick, he's sharp. Right foot, left foot is predominantly a right-footed player. We saw him shooting and providing assist with his left foot. He's becoming that player we had hopes a few years ago that we're thinking he wasn't going to get there. It's looking like Reiss Nelson's motivation is back and is willing to put in a hard yards and hard work to go and get those potentials some of us saw 4 or 5 years ago. So I think it's a smart thing for Edu, Arteta, and Richard Galley to time that to a new deal, give him a new deal, 4+1, and if he hits it up, it's a win-win for us now. And if he doesn't hit it up, we can sell him. I do not want us to have a repeat of a Serge Gnabry. We let him go, and we saw what he went to do at Bremen before he went to Bayern. So we have to learn from that. I get it. He has so much potential 6 years ago. We're thinking he will be in the position of Saka. Unfortunately, he didn't hit those heights, but it looks like those potentials we saw that time are beginning to manifest. Why don't we just take a chance on him? Just like Smith Rowe, even though Smith Rowe had I don't want to call it a bad season, was underwhelming due to injury, and when he came back, because we're in a title race, Arteta could not afford to give him minutes because you don't want to be playing him for fitness when we're in title race. So I get that balance, but thank God for the news that came out, even though I was like, if it wasn't going to be part of Arteta's plan, sell him, get some money, add to the transfer kitty and get better players. But now Arteta said that he's going to be part of our plans. Why don't we use him? And I think a fully fit Smith Rowe will give us something different. Having Smith Rowe, having Reiss Nelson, Trossard, we are building a solid squad, in my opinion. Aside from first 11, these are 3 players that can actually come into a match and give us something different, give us something incisive. So it's not every time you have to just go outside and splash 72 million and they will turn out to be a Pepe. See, fans are so indoctrinated in the fact that you have to go outside all the time and splash the cash. Like I said, you could go and splash the cash and bring in a player from outside, and he might turn out to be the next Nicolas Pepe or Francis Jeffer. So sometimes I appreciate what you have. Smith Rowe is a good player. We saw he did two seasons ago, double-digit goals and I think double-digit assists. So he has not suddenly turned to a bad player. Like, we have the modern fan is so quick to write off players. Reiss Nelson, I can agree, divide opinion because of what we're hoping he would do the last 5 to 6 years. He hasn't done, but we can see the signs are there. Give him that chance, especially when we're not spending any transfer fee. If it doesn't work, like I said, you sell him. So let's calm down, let's support these players, and let's see how it goes. Like, share, subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.